We get a ton of questions from people asking if charge coolers actually add any horsepower. As you may know, I just installed a CSF Ferrari red charge cooler on my F80 M3, and today we're gonna see if it added any extra horsepower. Hey, this is Bryan. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com. As I mentioned earlier, we just installed a CSF Ferrari red charge cooler on my F80 M3. Now, it's not the full suite with the cooling system. You really need a heat exchanger to get the most out of it, but we get a ton of questions asking if they actually add power. Now, if you ask CSF if the Charge Air Cooler alone creates power, they're gonna tell you that it's not really meant to just give you a boost in power like some other mods may. It's more for things like endurance racing and making sure that your temperatures stay low. So we're not expecting this to really just jump horsepower. I mean, honestly, after a couple runs, it may be dead even. It might be a little bit under, it might be a little bit over. It's gonna kind of be in that range. We shouldn't really see any extremes above or below. But with that, I'm curious, you're probably curious, so let's get started. We'll throw the car in the dyno and see how it does. So if you're new to our dyno series, what we found is a lot of companies will do 3 dyno runs and they'll take the worst, they'll install their product, and then they'll do 3 dyno runs and take their best and show you that max gain. But it's not really realistic. So what we try to do is we try to take 3 runs, we average them together. We install a product and then we do 3 more runs and we average them together to show you the average gains. And what we try to do as often as possible is we try to do all these in the same day. So earlier today, we uninstalled our Inventory intake and then reinstalled it. And then after it was put back together, it was at 450 horsepower to the wheels on average and 512 foot-pound torque. So 450 to the wheels for horsepower and 512 foot-pound of torque is the average of what we need to beat. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna do 3 runs and we're gonna see if it's any better, worse, or maybe even the same. Okay, so the first horsepower number was 452, which is pretty good. And then the torque was 517. So far we're starting pretty good. Now, the big thing is, as we continue to do 2 more runs back to back, are we going to start seeing a lot of heat soak that we saw in the OEM cooler? And that's really gonna be where your power loss is. So with that, let's jump right into run number 2 as we did on the last 3. And we'll see how we do. All right, so run number 2 was not as good. We had 433 horsepower and then 501 foot-pound of torque. So not really sure why we lost a lot. I mean, the car was a lot hotter the second time around, but let's do a 3rd run and see how it works out. See if it starts to pull it back up or maybe pull it down a little bit. All right, let's do our 3rd and final run and see how we do. All right, and our 3rd run was 438 horsepower. So that came up a little bit. But our torque went down to 500. So let me average these together real quick and I'll let you know how we did. Okay, so as a reminder, our averages earlier today were 450 horsepower to the wheels and 512 foot-pound of torque. Now again, As we mentioned earlier, CSF does not claim that this adds horsepower. It's more for endurance racing and not heat soaking as bad, especially when you have a front mount heat exchanger, which is a critical element that is missing on this car. So with that in mind, our numbers for the horsepower were 452, 433, and 438, which gives us an average of 441 down from 450, so about a 9 horsepower decrease. And then for the torque, this is in foot-pounds, we had 517, 501, and 500 for an average of 506. So we went down from 512 to 506, so it's about a 6 foot-pound torque loss. So again, we weren't expecting to really jump horsepower numbers here and torque numbers. This is more for cooling. So what we're going to do, this test we knew wasn't really going to be all that great, but we've had a lot of requests for it. A more appropriate test is going to be to put the stock heat exchanger back on, do some back-to-back runs, and then also watch things like your IATs and your temperatures and whatnot, and then reinstall the CSF one, and then do those same tests back-to-back to back-to-back to see how it is able to really endure through those hot temperatures and to help better dissipate the heat. Once again, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at KiesMotorsports.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.